All right, people, we need your support. This channel exists because you believe in our stories. We're not funded by big corporations. We're not bought by special interests. We're independent for the people, by the people. And we're here to speak the truth of our communities across the country. Every story we bring to you about injustices, about our culture, about what's really going on in our neighborhood is powered by us and hopefully now by you. We're asking every single viewer who values what we're doing here to help us stay independent. If just a few of you would donate $2 to $5, it'll make a huge difference. It's easy. You could send support through Venmo, Cash App, or Zelle. Your donation doesn't just keep the lights on, it keeps our voices strong. We're not just another YouTube channel. We're your news, we're your platform, we're your movement. So if you rock with us, if you believe in independent Latino media, drop $2, $3, or $5 today. Thank you so much for watching, supporting, and standing with us. We're just getting started. Let's grow together. All right, everybody, you guys know what it is. It's the one and the only American Cholo podcast, broadcasting live and direct to you from North Hollywood, California. My name is Gil, and I am the American Cholo. And today, our guest is a Riverside County Sheriff, Chad Bianco, a lawman, a reformer, a father, a husband, a grandfather. He is now one of the top candidates for the California governor. It is our complete honor to have you here on our platform. Chad Bianco, how we doing, my man?
Very good. Thanks for having me here. I'm glad to be here.
Like we were saying off air a little bit, it was a scheduling conflict somewhat because I thought you were going to be in the building and you told me you were actually in the area earlier today.
I know. I was down there. I came home, rushing home. I did a couple of other things on the way with radio shows and stuff, but I could have just stayed there all day. It would have been fine.
Make the thing larger for me to see, Chris. The whole, if you see this, that one, yeah, right there, buddy. There we go. I can see Mr. Bianco. So before we get started, Mr. Bianco, like people just kind of know you because you've gone viral on certain things, right? And they just know you as a sheriff. But let's give them a little history of where were you born and raised at, and what makes you the man that you are today.
Oh, very good. I was actually born in Utah. I was born and raised in Utah. I am the oldest of three kids. My mom and dad had me when very young. My mom was a junior in high school, and my dad left for Vietnam after she got pregnant. So they raised three good kids. Well, we like to think we're good. Obviously me. My brother that's right a year younger than me is a judge in Los Angeles County. And my youngest brother is 5 years younger than me. He actually works for me in my department. He's a chief deputy.
Oh, nice.
So I was raised in a great family, small town. The entire town had 1,200 people. The county had 18,000. So it was everybody knew everybody. It was small town vibe, immigrant community. I was from the Italian, family background. Right. So, I had probably 25 dads that, made sure I grew up right, and just had a great family life there, a great child upbringing. It was a good place to grow up, outdoors, hunting, fishing, sports, athletics. I was very athletic.
Was that out here in California?
That was in Utah.
Okay, Utah.
Yeah. And so I eventually I was very good at baseball. Went to college on a baseball scholarship, and I was a middle infielder.
Okay.
Middle infielder. I was really, I was really in every game for my hitting. That's really what I was in there for. I played my first year of college. I was a DH. My second year, I was a second baseman. My third year, I was a left fielder and a first baseman. And my fourth year was second base, and sometimes I switched off from first base. It was all depending on defense, where they needed defense, but I was always in there for my bat.
So were you the ringer when you guys would have sheriff and like different baseball?
Yes, I was. When the department found out that I could play, they made sure that they recruited me heavily to make sure that I played on our team.
Now, what made you gravitate towards law enforcement? Is that something you wanted to be as a child, or was something in life that eventually made you go that route?
No, there was nothing really. There was no law enforcement in my family. I didn't grow up saying I want to be a cop. I wanted to be a baseball player. My dream was, today, probably around this year, I should have been inducted into the Major League Hall of Fame. That was my goals. my goals didn't work out for me, and God had different plans for me, and I ended up coming to California, looking for that California dream, and I truly found it here. And I came here. I got a job in construction. Eventually I was working for a Ford dealership in the service department, and one of my buddies that worked there was attending the Sheriff's Academy in his off time, on his own. And so I started talking to him about that. He was just trying to convince me to do it, said it would be something I would be interested in. It'd be fun. And at the time, I had a young family, and it was good pay. It was good benefits. Law enforcement was at the time. And I eventually quit my job and put myself through the Sheriff's Academy. And once I got in there, I knew, this was it. I loved it. I loved everything about the academy. It's a 6-month academy, but I ended up finishing the top of my class. And I had put myself through San Bernardino Sheriff's Academy because back in the early 90s, budgets were horrible for law enforcement, and they were only hiring people that did it themselves. And so the day after the academy graduation, I was hired by Riverside County Sheriff. I came to work here, and that's really history. I'm in my 32nd year now with RSO, and I've been the sheriff since 2018.
Now, since we're speaking a little about the sheriffs, are you guys under some kind of investigation in the sheriff's department in Riverside? Is it you, or is it the department? What's your comment on that?
It's us. It was a completely political hit job by a failed attorney general that is using the government to create political fodder and try and intimidate me to be quiet. The truth of this is it's concerning our jails. So it's called a oh gosh. I can't remember the exact legal term of it, but it's a constitutional violation. They're basically alleging that we have a pattern and practice constitutional violations of civil rights. And so the joke of this whole thing is it came right after I did a viral video. It was actually a news commentary on the Epic Times where I talked major truth, but if you're them, it's trash. But it's major truth about our failed governor and our failed attorney general, and how public safety in California was being destroyed by those two activists. And that video went viral, that news story went viral, and several weeks later, they announced this lawsuit, this investigation to basically tarnish my name and to say how horrible I was, and I have no credibility. But the funny thing is, this happened in I want to say it was February, March of 2023.
Right.
And in November of 2022, the state issued this audit finding about correctional institutions, and it was basically an audit of San Diego because they were having a lot of jail deaths in their jail, and so they audited San Diego. But the way the law works is you can't just audit one county, you have to do several. So they actually did 5 Southern California audits for law enforcement agencies. And in that finding, they recommended that every correctional institution in the state follow the Riverside County Sheriff's Office lead in how we operate our corrections divisions, in how we treat our inmates, how we protect our inmates, all of these things. When everything that we did was exactly how they said was a model of how correctional institutions should behave and should operate. And then 4 months later, our complete failure of an attorney general gets on a press conference and says how he's disturbed because the ACLU said that horrible things were happening. They just lied. And they make these allegations about things that are happening in the jail. The truth of the matter is everything that happens in the jail is monitored by the Attorney General's office. They know absolutely everything that happens. If it was a concern, he would have already done something. It's nothing but fake. It's political warfare, political lawfare against people that they don't like, that are speaking up about how ridiculous and harmful the current state of California politics is toward California residents. So I don't hold any punches when I talk about them and about the ridiculousness of this lawsuit. It's all it's all a game to them, and it's only about making headlines so they can point to these headlines and say, oh, look how horrible this sheriff is, he's under investigation.
Now, I think that's what gravitates a lot of people to you, that you're a no nonsense sheriff. You have never been shy about your opinion and whether you agree or disagree with something. And many times it seems like politicians are more afraid of which way the needle is going to go. Are they going to like what I'm going to do? But I don't think that's the right way to govern. You got to govern which right is right and wrong is wrong. So what would you say has prepared you as being a sheriff to go to another level and become a governor of a state like one of the largest states in the union, California?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I will tell you that on this ballot, I'll be the only person with a resume that qualifies me to be the governor of this state. I will be the only person on that ballot that has 32 years of public service. I will be the only person on that ballot that is an elected official to a countywide seat twice. I will be the only person on that ballot that has ever been responsible for spending taxpayer money. And not only do I do it wisely, I do it well. I have a $1.3 billion budget that I not only manage correctly and well, I finish in the black every year. I don't, like a typical politician, I don't just go tell you that I need more of your money because I spent too much. I actually know what my budget is, $1.3 billion worth, and I finish in the black every single year because I care about taxpayer money and about taxpayers, basically their investment in their government. And that ability, not only all of that no one else on the ballot is going to have, none of the Democrats, certainly none of the Republicans. My service to my community is irrefutable. It is nothing but based on integrity, honesty, doing the right thing. There's a lot of people that have bad experiences with law enforcement. They talk a lot of crap on law enforcement, but I will tell you right now, and there are bad cops, there's bad everything. But I will tell you right now, there's nothing worse for a good cop than a bad cop. And we do everything we possibly can to identify and get rid of the ones that are causing harm to our public, because that's not what we're supposed to be doing. And so that 32-year history that I have of serving 2.5 million people in Riverside County, there's no one else on the ballot that has that. And there's no one else that's been an elected official that's promised all of these things in campaigns that's actually delivered them. Right. I've actually even reformed our county government, not just my sheriff's department government. I've reformed our county government to be more responsive to taxpayers and more efficient in how we spend taxpayer money to make sure that we aren't going over budget.
Now we're talking about taxpayer money. One of the biggest wastes, and I think you agree on this, has been the homeless industrial machine here. $24 billion. That's like a number that people just hear nowadays and they think it's not a large amount of money. It's a huge amount of money. It's almost enough money to buy every single homeless person in California a house, a nice house. Yeah. So
we've become immune to it.
Yeah. So how do we tackle this? Because I'm to the belief that it is homelessness, but the majority of it is drug addiction. And I've yet to hear a politician actually say, dude, these are a lot of drug addicts out there that are turning mental and then they become homeless. First of all, how do we stop the corruption and the fraud of the money? And second, how do we try to reduce the homelessness situation in California?
Yeah, I'm glad you put it that way, because there is two different aspects to this. There is a complete, when you said it, this homeless complex, it is a homeless industrial complex. And what you mean by that is it is a business. It is a business of them taking our taxpayer money and just giving it to someone else. And they have absolutely no idea who they're giving it. Well, they know who they're giving it to. They have no idea what they're doing with that money, and it's not accounted for. They have no idea where this money has gone and what it's been used for. But we know the proof that it's not helping the homeless. The homeless has got exponentially worse every single year, while they keep giving more and more and more millions and billions toward this issue that we call homeless. So for me, I absolutely refuse to call it homeless because they are not homeless. Every single one of them have a home that they were kicked out of for one reason or another.
I love it.
And you hit it right on the head. This is a drug-induced psychosis that is causing the mental illness that we see on the street, that's causing these people to think that they're okay. They're rotting in their skin, they're sores all over, they're living in their own feces and urine, and they think it's okay because they are so messed up mentally because of the psychosis from drugs and alcohol. And it's not 100% of them. There are legitimate people out there that are truly homeless. But in the law enforcement world, when we find those people, we like do backflips. We jump for joy because we know there are resources that we can direct them to, that we can provide them to get them help. And there are kids that get kicked out of their house. There are women and children that leave abusive households. Right. There's all kinds of those things that we come across as law enforcement, and we help them immediately. But the ones that we see on the street, these homeless that we call that are out in front of grocery stores and businesses and parked underneath trees in the park and underneath the freeway overpasses, those are all drug and alcohol issues that have led to mental health issues. Right. And until we start being honest and addressing the drug issue, the alcohol issue, and the mental health issue, we aren't going to fix this. We will never fix it because we just keep giving the millions and billions of dollars to these nonprofits that buy homes, that buy, apartments, that buy buildings. They aren't helping anyone. No. There was one that they got $5 million in a year, and they helped 3. They claimed they helped 3. They only took in 3. They left, but they say they helped 3 homeless people. And that's ridiculous for $5 million.
And just in the last few months, Governor Newsom has got another $2.4 billion. And it's amazing to me how he's out there talking about this time we're going to make it right. I'm like, bro, you blew through 24 billion already. How is 2.4 going to get it right? And what happens is, like you're saying, it's just the CEOs are making money, the people are working, and there is no fixing it. They don't want the cure because then they're out of a job.
No, we're enabling these people to be homeless. We give them $1,500 a month. We give them drugs and alcohol. We give them needles. We give them places where they can safely shoot up these drug dens that they're called. And we do nothing to help them. It should be, we should be embarrassed that we as human beings are allowing other human beings to rot and die on the streets without helping them. And the problem is where we are in the legal system is you can't force someone into treatment. So we have to, as a cop, we just have to go out there and say, hey, do you want some help? I can get you a place to stay. I can get you whatever it is. They always tell us no, because the requirement of where they're going is they can't use their drugs. They can't drink alcohol, and they don't want any part of that. And they tell us that. They're honest with us. It's not like they lie. There are some cops out there that have great relationships with all the homeless people that they're dealing with all the time. Some of them are whacked out of their brain and don't recognize them sometimes, but when they come down, they can have these conversations with them. And it's sad. There are a lot of times where there's, particularly in our area around Temecula, we have a nonprofit that does a lot of work with us, that they don't care that they've got drug problems and everything else. They want to try and help them. So we will get them into this program, and they'll be there for 30 days, maybe 60 days, and they're sober. Now they're thinking straight. Now they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm living on the street. And then we contact their family, and it may be their wife, it may be their daughter, their, a family member. And we'll say, hey, we have your dad, or we have your mom, and we've got them sober. Will you take them back? And they're from a different state usually. Right. And more often than not, they tell us, we'll take them back as long as they're sober. If they're not sober, we can't deal with them anymore. And, we can't have them here.
So as a governor, I hate to cut you off, but you made a point right now about them being from out of state. I would say a good chunk of people, and I see it here in my own neighborhood, they have these nonprofit apartments they make in. They're putting people from Missouri, from Wisconsin, and we as California taxpayers are splitting the bill for these guys, and they're bringing the drug addiction with them. So how do we stop other states from bringing people here, or is there anything we can do as far as that goes?
Yeah, it's not other states. It's the businesses here.
Okay.
And to be very, very honest with you, there's going to be a lot of people upset when I win this governor position, because this industrial complex of the homelessness will stop. The money that we won't need as much money as they're completely wasting. We will just need to have the resources to make sure that we get them into drug and alcohol treatment, live in drug and alcohol treatment. And this is what it used to be. This isn't a new concept. Right. It used to be this before 2014, when we were lied to about Prop 47 and when they took away all the consequence for doing drugs. Yes. We used to be able to say, hey, you're guilty of doing this. You were found guilty. You get to pick. Do you want to go to prison or jail, or do you want to go to rehab? Right. Well, everyone's going to pick rehab. And to be honest with you, we would rather have them. We don't want them in jail. We would rather have them in rehab, get productive again, be a productive member of society, and get back to the life that you had before. That's what the goal should be. And that was possible before 2014. Now, all we want to do is do it again. And with Prop 36, we would have been able to, but they're not funding it. So we don't have the rehab centers to send them to. We don't have the judges that are able to hear these cases that will send them to rehab and order them into rehab. And so eventually we'll get there, but right now it's not going to happen. And with this current governor, it won't happen, because he's completely against Prop 36, and he's against this treatment because he knows it's going to work. And he knows that we will fix the homeless issue that he has spent 20 years saying that he's going to fix, while he just keeps dumping more and more and more of our taxpayer money.
Yeah, because they don't live in his backyard. They don't. Right. He doesn't see him like you. You guys. That's one thing about you. You have seen him firsthand. You see what's going on out there in the streets. I think also the reason they released so many people out was because after the Supreme Court told them they need to reduce the population in California prisons. To me, it's almost like, okay, these are the lower inmates, and just letting them out on the streets and get high. But I think in order for that to work, you would have to put some money instead into the just homeless complex. You would have to start making facilities for a lot of these people now, because I mean the numbers are crazy of how many people are out here addicted to drugs in California.
Yeah, there will certainly be the availability for private businesses to open up for, and there are nonprofits now that do it anyway, but there will certainly be the opportunity for businesses to open up for mental health care, for drug care, for alcohol care. And to be honest with you, I'm okay using taxpayer money to house those people in those facilities if we're going to make sure that we help them and move them along their way to be productive again. I think that's okay. Even though they chose to be in that position, it's a benefit to society to get them off the streets, to get them out of our neighborhoods, to get them out from in front of our businesses. And it's only a small effort of a month or two to get them clean and sober, to get them thinking straight, to where they can make their own decisions to say, yeah, I can make a rational decision now.
Right. Now, California, the governor, I think a few years back, we became the 5th largest economy in the world. Just recently, we became the 4th largest economy in the world. And people tell you, hey, Gil, we're the 4th largest economy. And my response to that is, well, hoop-de-doo, we're the 4th largest economy in the world, but the people can't afford to live here. Yeah. So it's becoming a class of rich and poor. So would you rather us be the 5th, 6th economy, but people able to live and have a standard of living? Or would you rather us be like the 3rd economy, the 2nd economy, but have the people not be able to live in their own state?
Yeah, we don't really know each other, but I think we're brothers from different mothers. We're thinking along the same lines. I've said this over and over and over again. That's exactly right. And we have to have a completely different mindset of how we are going to address the issues that we have. My view of this, I'm a very competitive person. Why have we been happy with 5? Why are we happy with 4? Why aren't we number 2? Why aren't we number 3? We'll never be number 1 because America is number 1 and we're part of America. But why can't we be number 2? We've got 42, 43 million people in this state. We could make it. We could make it happen. We're bigger than most countries. We could be number 2. And we have to be very careful about what this means about moving to number 4, because we did nothing to move to number 4. Japan failed. Japan was ahead of us and they failed. Their economy is failing. So by default, California went to number 4 in that ranking. So it wasn't by anything that we did. And you're absolutely right. If you can't afford to live here, what do you care if we're the best economy in the world? And I'll tell you this, China is number 2. Do you want to live in China? I don't want to live in China. I've seen I've seen how they treat their workers and how they treat their citizens and what communism really is. I don't want to live there. So why would I care that they're number 2? So just to say that we're so great because we're number 5 or we're number 4 means absolutely nothing when your residents can't afford to live from paycheck to paycheck.
Right. Now let's talk a little bit about social funding, as far as, maybe anti-gang stuff, after school programs, like the summer night lights. Are you for helping out more social programs out in the hoods out here in California?
Those types of social programs, yes. So yeah, I have to be very careful about what types of social programs we're talking about, because if you just randomly say a social program, I'm going to say, no, I'm against it. Right. There are some that the government, that is their responsibility, but something like that, the answer is 100% yes, because you're actually providing a service to the community, and not just the community, it's usually to kids who absolutely need it. Right. And to, as a dad, as an adult, there is nothing that hurts me more than kids being harmed. Kids can't fend for themselves. Kids can't protect themselves. That's right. Adults' responsibility. We are supposed to be raising them in a safe environment, in a safe and an effective manner to make them productive members of society. And sometimes, we got to admit, be truthful, that there are just some parents that are absolutely horrible parents that don't provide for their kids.
Absolutely.
And that is when somebody else has to step in and say, hey, we can help. And there is not any person with a heart that would be against after school programs, against programs to give kids something to do rather than go hang out on street corners, to get, to teach kids that there's a way to make a living rather than selling drugs or going down a life of crime or stealing for whatever it is that you want, because sometimes that might be the environment that they see and it's easy. But if you put adults into their life and you get good social programs, that you have good adults that are running them, that can be role models, that can be, speaking to these kids to say, look, you may be in a bad spot, but there's people here that love you. There's people here that care for you. And we're going to make sure that you get through. Yeah, those are the social programs that work, that no one has a problem with funding with taxpayer money.
100% agree with you. Kids are a straight reflection of their parents. So a lot of times when kids are just acting a fool and doing that, you look at the parents like, that's what it is. It's how we raise them. As far as, like, has Governor Newsom ever called you, had a meeting with any with sheriffs in any county at all? I heard he would not really have any kind of conversation with any of you guys.
No, this was part of that viral video that I said that in the history, there are some old sheriffs. There are some sheriffs that are in their 90s that have been retired for 30, 40 years. And we still all meet. We have a yearly conference where these guys come back, and gals, and they're good people. But we have good conversations about the past and about the current status of law enforcement and everything. And one of the things about the governor throughout history, the sheriffs, every sheriff in the state, we have an association, and we meet 4 times a year. It's 5 really, but we call it 4 quarterly meetings. And all through history that anyone can remember, the governor attended every single one of those meetings and talked with the sheriffs about what was going on in their respective counties, about what was going on in government and what we were working for and everything else. The only person that has never done that is Gavin Newsom. He has never been to one of our meetings, and he has never met with any of our sheriffs. And I said that, and it went viral.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing after that, and this is how dirty, slimy politicians operate. They don't care about the truth. They don't care about whether it's real. They just try and eliminate me from saying that. So what he did after I went viral with that video is he called a meeting with 5 sheriffs that he picked. and he called them down to the governor's office, and they went in for a 20-minute meeting. They shaken, high five, whatever it is they did. The sheriffs that were there said it was the biggest waste of time ever. It was obviously just for him to say that he did it. So technically, I can't say now that he hasn't met with sheriffs, because he handpicked 5 that he brought into his office, but we discussed nothing. They talked about nothing. It was just so he could say, oh yeah, I met with them once.
Yeah, and the sign of a leader is, you walk into a room that people may not agree with you, but you can go in there, hear them out, and say your piece. But unfortunately, especially in California, that just hasn't been the case. But that's why, crime was going rampant for a little bit. I mean, we still have some problems, but I think somebody like you will go in there and will definitely shake the system. Now, I got another question for you. As far as two-part question, are you for just lock them up? Rehabilitation for convicts in California, and also on the death row situation, would you be inclined to bring back the death penalty in California, or just leave it as it is, how Gavin Newsom has it now?
I would be inclined to bring it back. The voters voted for this, and that's it's there for a reason. It's a deterrent, and his just personal beliefs. He didn't care what the voters wanted, and multiple times, and he's just done his own thing. So I would be inclined to bring it back. I'm certainly a hard on crime person, but the first part about that is rehabilitation. I never beat my kids just to beat my kid. Well, I never beat my kids anyway, but when they get in trouble, I mean, you talk to them, you convince them to do something different. You give them opportunity to change. That's the entire thing of learning and of rehab. If we're going to have rehab, let's call it what it is. We know what it means. We need to actually be trying to do it. So I'm a harsh on crime guy, but I also believe in second chances and sometimes third chances. And I don't believe that unless it's heinous, I don't believe anybody should be going to jail or prison for the first crime that they commit. Right. It's the repeat offenders that have shown over and over and over again that they have no intention of stopping. They have no intention of not victimizing us. And those are the ones that I just don't have a tolerance for. Back even to when we had the 3 strikes law. If you're going to have a person that just repeatedly does heinous crimes over and over and over, how many more victims do we need before we lock that person away and don't let them out again? The reality is there's very, very few people that are like that. The majority of us are good people. There are only a few, very minuscule percentage of the population that are truly bad, that are criminals. And quite frankly, that's what we have jails and prisons for.
Exactly. So I know you went viral for another one, which was the BLM kneeling one down. And I heard one of your responses to it. And then I went yesterday and looked at the video. And I actually was like, you know what? This is kind of the guy we need right now, bro, because and we'll get into the immigration thing here pretty soon. But I think it's when you're in the political world, it's damned if you do and damned if you don't, because then you got a lot of heat from that. Explain to us that whole situation real quick about the BLM and when you knelt down and I think you did an interview like that.
Yeah. So if you, I'll try and make this as quick as possible. I kind of get tired of explaining this over and over. But unfortunately, this is one of those things, and hopefully you've heard the saying. I know it was, I've heard it many times in my life. Don't believe anything that you see and only believe half of what you hear. Or nothing what you hear and half of what you see. That's the saying. But in that time, and we have to understand, you've got to realize that BLM, even at the time, I mean, what we know now about BLM, it's just a corrupt domestic terrorist organization. But what we knew at the time was that it was certainly anti-law enforcement. They were not friends of cops.
Right.
And so coming into Riverside, we were watching pretty much Los Angeles burn. Los Angeles had been burning for 3 days before the protests moved their way to Riverside. And I said, we're not going to have that here. We are not going to allow this to continue. We're not going to get behind the 8 ball. We'll take all of them to jail if we have to. We are going to have a hard line on these violent protests. At the same time, I love my Constitution, and I believe that I am in place, especially as a law enforcement officer, to defend your constitutional rights. So you have the constitutional right to free speech. The problem with that is, and what we're seeing today, is you don't have the right in your free speech to violate someone else's rights. And when you do that, that's when you cross the line. So when they were coming to Riverside, we met for several days prior with the organizers to make sure they knew what the parameters were, knew what the rules were, knew what was going to cause us to shut them down, all of those things. And that's typical. It truly works that way all the time. And so I had a good relationship with those guys that were organizing and running that thing. And throughout that night, I was right there on the front line. I had 1,000 deputies there. There was 900 deputies and about 250 other cops from other agencies that were there for this. And I was in between them and the protesters. And we were making sure that if they wanted to protest, they could protest. I allowed them to go an hour past curfew because they were actually, they were fine. They were just there protesting. It was civil. But in the end, it started going sideways. And so I told the organizers, I said, hey, we're gonna issue this, we're gonna issue the dispersal order, and we're gonna give you 20 minutes, and then we're gonna make everybody leave. And so they start talking, and the interesting thing is I had built a great relationship with those guys, and they started telling me where all the Antifa people were that were going to cause us the problems. They told us where the weapons were. They told us where the fireworks were. They told us where what the people were dressed like that were going to cause all of the major issues that we were going to have. And they thanked me for everything that we did. And in the end, he said, hey, like we had done 2 days in a row prior, he's like, hey, can we pray that this ends well? And will you pray with us? And I said, absolutely. And he asked if deputies could. And if you watch the entire video, if you've seen the whole video, you actually hear that. You hear me asking if any of the deputies want to pray after they asked me if I would pray with them. And then so we pray. And the only thing that I will concede, and I will never say I regret, because I think that I don't regret anything in my life. I think it's lessons learned, and you learn from maybe mistakes, or you learn from bad experiences. And this is kind of one of them, is I lost myself in the moment about the big picture. I was trying to do everything I could to make sure that event was going to be peaceful, that event was going to end well. And I really like those guys, and asking me to pray. I mean, you're not going to get a no from me. I will pray anywhere, anytime. And so the only thing that I didn't have to do is we started to pray, and you see them, we had our arms around each other, and one of them asked, hey, do you mind if we kneel and pray? And I said, no, I don't care. So we went down and we kneeled and we prayed. And then they left, and then the camera's there, and then the camera starts asking me questions, and I knew her too. And I unfortunately just stayed there with her. I regret that part. I wish I would have had the wherewithal to say, I realize what we're doing here and this whole kneeling thing going on the outside, but I was caught up in the moment of making it work, being able to pray with those guys. And now that I'm running for governor, it's being used against me that somehow I did something wrong. But I would never change what happened there. I think we did exactly what we should have done. The thing that I do have to emphasize about the whole don't believe anything you see, and nothing that you see and half of what you hear. I am one of the most respected leaders in the country in law enforcement. Definitely this state, and my department holds me in unbelievably high regard. That would never be possible. And law enforcement is supporting me in this campaign.
Right.
That would never be possible if I knelt to BLM and if I gave into a domestic terrorist organization that hates cops.
To me, what I see, Sheriff Bianco, is I see a man with standards, with morality, where most sheriffs, you didn't see any of the actual sheriff from LA County out there in front of the protest. You didn't see the chief of LAPD out there. These guys are in their combat rooms or whatever you guys call it. But you're actually out there as a sheriff in your front lines, and you're trying to diffuse the situation. That's what you did that day. So to me, what you did there was absolutely commendable.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. There's both sides. Everybody has their both sides. And to be honest with you, the naysayers, the ones that are saying how horrible it is and they're never going to support me, I really don't care about them. I don't care what they think. My employees are more important to me than they are. And my employees know what happened and they know what that was for. They know what I did. And in the end, when that night was over, I ended up setting the tone for the entire nation of law enforcement on how these riots would be handled. You handle them as civilly as you possibly can in the beginning, working with them. And when they break the rules and they cross that line, you end it with a large, huge show of force that makes it end quickly. And that's exactly what we did.
Absolutely.
And to this day, even with these last riots that were going on, there were we follow their social media pages. They're organized. These are all paid protests now. These are paid political uprisings, and we are in their social media pages. And to this day, when they were planning their rallies and their protests in Riverside, they warn all of the protesters that they are in Riverside County with Sheriff Chad Bianco, and you can't break the rules and the laws there. And that's okay with me. That's how it should be.
That's right.
And I'm proud of that.
Now, how do we get the gas prices down as a governor?
Gas prices are easy. Gas prices are going to be easy.
Talk to me.
So about $2.25 worth of our gas is added fees from government regulation. Right. I will take those government regulations away, those air quality regulations, those ridiculous things that they have that no other place in the country has. I will take those away on day one. That will lower the price of gas by a minimum of $2. Man. And then the next thing I sign will be eliminating the regulations that prevents us from drilling oil all through the Kern River Valley, the Kern County, Bakersfield, all of that. We will start drilling our own oil again. We will have the lowest price gasoline in the country. Currently, it's Texas, and it's $2.35 a gallon. We will beat that.
Now, what are they doing with all that tax money that they're getting? Because that's got to be billions of dollars of revenue from that tax.
It is. And they have no idea what they're doing with it. That's the problem. There is no accountability in our government. There is no one in our government that is going there saying, hey, we should be spending our tax money wisely. We should be monitoring where this money is going. We should be auditing these companies and businesses that we're giving money to. And there is no one doing that. It is just a free-for-all on the backs of us. We just keep giving more and more of our paychecks, and they just keep taking it and wasting it. And that will stop.
Now, on the American Cholo platform, we have a lot of people who own oldies, have style old cars, and who's the comedian that's pushing for Jay Leno? Jay Leno. What's your take on that? Where he's trying to pass a law that if a car's over 30 or 35 years, that it will no longer need a smog.
I mean, that should be that is an absolute no-brainer. That is how life is in every other state. My first car, I'll eventually get it again. My first car was a 72 Bronco, and I ended up getting rid of that for a 56 Chevy Bel Air. I love old cars. All of my friends had muscle cars. We were all into that growing up. We were all into working on our own cars, and they were all classics. And to say now that those cars are bad and that we can't have them, and that you can't have your classic car, you can't restore the car that you found that was your first or that's been passed down through generations, is so ridiculous. Only in California. There's no other place that's doing that. It's only in California. And it's just asinine. There will not be a tax on classic cars, on old cars.
Nice.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, for a minute there, I think they had a mandate. I don't know if he took it away, that they were going to go full electric like by 2030 something. And everybody in our community is like, what's going to happen to classic cars, man?
Yeah.
And how do we keep pushing for electric vehicles when we can't even keep up with the power grid of just having the AC on? Like over here, we got a heat wave right now, and you're going to start seeing the commercials. Please don't use the power. Please. And I'm like, well, you guys want us to go super solar? We can't even use the AC in the house.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we're the same person. This is absolutely ridiculous that we are in this. And I will tell you, it is not government's role to tell us what we have to buy, to tell us what we have to purchase. And I'll go a long ways back. When the car was invented, the government didn't tell everyone that you had to get rid of your horse and carriage and buy a car. And it was too expensive. People couldn't afford it. There were no roads. The resources weren't there. It was more, it was safer and it was more reliable for people to use their horse or their wagon. And eventually technology, ingenuity, innovation took over, and it allowed us all to have cars. But it wasn't the government that forced us to do that. And now bring it more fast forward. I truly do believe, I hope I'm alive long enough that I see this, but I truly do believe that we will eventually have something better than gas cars. It may be electric, it may be something else, and electric cars may be the answer in the future, but it's not now. It's not even close to now. They don't travel far enough. We don't have enough power to charge them. When you have gas-powered tow trucks bringing gas-powered generators to charge your electric vehicle when it's broke down on the side of the road, you know something is seriously, seriously wrong. So eventually it will happen, but not now. And it's not when the government tells us. It's when technology tells us it's available, and it's when public demand wants that to happen. But just like the horse and the carriage, I've got a covered wagon and I've got horses. I prefer my truck, but I may want to go out and pull my wagon with my horses one day, and I think that's pretty cool. The same way will be with our classic cars. We may be all electric, but we will always have gasoline for our cars that we've restored throughout history.
Now, one of our subscribers, and this is a question I actually wanted to ask you as well. Gil, what kind of changes can we see to CARB destroying the trucking industry in California, and CARB being the California Air Resource Board? And myself, we at our company actually went through this. We had to sell one of our trucks off. Nice truck, flatbed, but because the new emissions, we have to spend $20,000 to get it to California standards. And to myself, I think of other people who they're just small trucking companies. Imagine a guy has one or two trucks, and all of a sudden you got a bill of $40,000 to $60,000 sitting on there. You're going to go out of business. So what do we do to help, the truck drivers who don't have fleet of vehicles and don't have unlimited resources of money?
CARB will be disbanded. There will be no CARB after I am governor. There is the federal government has the EPA. There are regulations that everyone abides by. California is the EPA on steroids, and California is the only state that does that. Why are we being punished exponentially,
right,
when the rest of the country is not? And we have this big pipe dream of saving the world, which that's a completely different, this whole green thing and the whole global warming and where all that money is going. And all you got to do is follow the money and see that it's a joke. California is not going to be punished anymore more than any other resident in the country. Not to say that they are punished, but we will not have more stringent regulations than any other state. We are going to make California a state where everyone wants to come to again, rather than everyone is being forced to leave. And it's all because of government. Californians are amazing. The people here are amazing. The businesses are amazing. Our environment, the beach, the mountains, the deserts, the grasslands, the farming. What we have here, the mountains, is absolutely amazing. It is government that is ruining it. And we need to put somebody in there that is not afraid to admit it, and that is not afraid to tackle the problems that it's causing, and make sure that the government is actually working for Californians again, instead of us working for the government to make sure they're happy. That's not what government was intended for. And there are going to be some drastic common sense changes with me as your governor.
Now, is there anything you can do? Because when I hear the Californias, when you're talking, and it is, California is a beautiful state. We got deserts, we got snow, we got, you name it, we got it, right? But what we have right now is unreasonable, just mortgages, apartments. And you see, I don't know if California has this issue. I know in Nevada they're starting to do it. Now they're having signs saying you can rent this home. And in other words, you're having these big corporations coming in here, buying these lots, making these homes, and instead of selling them to the people, they're renting it. So it's becoming a state where it's just going to be a renter's market. Is there anything you could do as a governor that would ensure that your grandkids and your kids and everybody else out there that's voting, their kids will be able to afford to live in California?
Yeah. So that's one of the big reasons why I'm even doing this, because my generation is the last one that could achieve the California dream easily.
Yeah.
My kids don't have that ability. My kids are struggling with good jobs with 2 incomes that are renting because they can't afford to buy a home. And the home prices in California are artificially manufactured and increased by regulations of our government on purpose. It is a purposeful regulatory environment that causes the price of our homes to increase. I've talked to numerous builders that have told me that a minimum of a third of the price of a home that they want to build and sell, the price of that home, a minimum of a third of it, is because of regulations and fees that they have had to pay to the state of California or to counties or the cities, wherever it is that they're operating. And that is completely unacceptable. So you take the median home price of 900,000 in California, the rest of the country is 400,000. You take away that 350,000, now you're down to 550, 600,000. We're a little bit comparable to the rest of the country, all by eliminating the regulatory process that we require home builders to go through that no one else in the country goes through. And so multiple builders have told me that it should take a minimum or a maximum of 90 days to build a home. But in California, it takes 3 years because of all the red tape, the bureaucratic tape, the regulations, the inspections, the doing this, the doing that. And that is what drives the price of building that home up. So now they have to sell that home for more money because, I mean, they're not going to lose money. They can't be into a home $900,000 and sell it for $500. Right. They've got to sell it for $950 so they can make money. And that's how it works. So we have an entire industry of home builders that no longer build homes because it's not profitable for them. It's not equitable for them because it takes too long. It takes the regulatory process, then nobody can afford to buy their homes. So you take away that regulatory process and you make it like every other state in the country. Now all of these builders are going to be flocking to be buying up this real estate to build these homes. And then you have the supply and demand, economics 101, when we have a whole bunch of homes being built. Now there's people wanting them, that now the price is going to come down because the demand is equaling the supply. Right now we have a demand that's up here and we have a supply of homes clear down here, so they can charge whatever they want. And we just have to do away with that. And it's all, Gil, I'm telling you, I wish, well, I don't wish, because it's going to make me a hero when I get in there as the governor, because they've made us believe that it's an impossibility. They've made us to believe there's nothing that they could do. The reality is the stroke of a pen could make our life so much easier here just by getting government out of the way, out of the regulatory process of American ingenuity, of Californian ingenuity, and of our desire of workers wanting to build homes. Right. Can you imagine if we take that away, the amount of homes that are going to be built? Not only are we availing ourselves to a home, but look at all the jobs that are going to be created, the construction jobs that are going to be going into the manufacture of these homes. They talk about stimulating the economy. It's going to be on steroids here.
So talking about homes, stimulating the economy, this week, I think was it 2 days ago, you had federal agents with DHS, ICE, and who knows what other agencies in MacArthur Park flexing their muscle. And my question to you is, how would you feel as the sheriff of Riverside seeing the federal government walking through one of your parks, walking through your area? And before you answer that question, we're going to take a 2-minute break and we'll come right back to it. So you got about 2.5 minutes. Mr. Bianco, stretch it out. We'll come back to that question.
Are you dealing with a busted pipe, clogged drain, or no hot water? Don't stress. Call the pros at Rockstar Plumbing in Chatsworth. Our licensed and insured team handles it all. Fast, clean, and reliable. From leak repairs to full water heater installs, we've got you covered. Trusted by your neighbors and rated 5 stars across the valley. Call now, 818-814-3044, or find us online. Rockstar Plumbing. We don't just fix pipes, we rock them. Do you need a tattoo but don't know where to go? Thinking about having your homie do a homemade one? Hey, let me stop you right there. Tattoos are permanent, people. Let the pros handle it. Go see our friends down at SoCal Tattoo. The address, 6000 Reseda Boulevard, Unit M, Tarzana, California, 91356. The phone number, 818-578-6562. Once again, 818-578-6562. And tell them American Cholo sent you.
All right, people, we need your support. This channel exists because you believe in our stories. We're not funded by big corporations. We're not bought by special interests. We're independent, for the people, by the people. And we're here to speak the truth of our communities across the country. Every story we bring to you about injustices, about our culture, about what's really going on in our neighborhood is powered by us, and hopefully now by you. We're asking every single viewer who values what we're doing here to help us stay independent. If just a few of you would donate $2 to $5, it'll make a huge difference. It's easy. You could send support through Venmo, Cash App, or Zelle. Your donation doesn't just keep the lights on, it keeps our voices strong. We're not just another YouTube channel. We're your news, we're your platform, we're your movement. So if you rock with us, if you believe in independent Latino media, drop $2, $3, or $5 today. Thank you so much for watching, supporting, and standing with us. We're just getting started. Let's grow together. All right, so now we're back. Mr. Bianco, let's see. Yeah, there he is. Put him back on stage, Chris. So yeah, the question, what is your take and how would you feel as a sheriff seeing the military come on to your parks and to your guys' county? The way it's happening in LA.
That's a good question, and it takes a lot of thought. And I can, in my head, I want to say that wouldn't happen here in Riverside County because I think I have a better working relationship with all of those people that are involved. And I think that right now we can't believe anything that we're seeing on TV or anything that people are telling us because it is polar opposite. The Democrat leadership is saying one thing and the Republican leadership is saying completely something different, and we don't know what to believe. And so right now we're just seeing a lot of political theater and grandstanding, and quite honestly, we're the ones that suffer for it.
All right.
I will tell you that when it was on her phone, we weren't watching it on TV. She was watching it on a social media post or whatever it was. But my wife cried, and it's how are we in a place in society that we are like that? And there are a lot of things that go into this, and I will tell you that this is caused by both parties and by the egos of wanting to be right or wanting to be in charge or wanting to win some type of political favor. And we all suffer for it. We are all suffering the consequences. And this whole thing that's going on, it's not happening in any other state. It's not happening. It's only happening in California because California politicians were so defiant about deporting or helping the federal government in the transition of criminals into their custody so they could deport the people that were criminalizing us, right, or that were victimizing us. And because we're a sanctuary state, and because our stupid governor and the ridiculous mayor get on and make these claims and talk with this bravado and this chest thumping that they do, well, it caused our federal government, our president, to do the same thing. And it's horrible. And we're the ones that are suffering for it. If what should happen here, and I will tell you that from a law enforcement perspective, from a local law enforcement perspective, I don't know if anyone knows or anyone cares, but local law enforcement has never been involved in the in immigration enforcement. The only time that local law enforcement was ever involved was inside a jail or inside a prison. And when people were due to be released, if they were convicted criminals and they were here in the country illegally, ICE would come into the jails, pick them up, and they would do the deportation process.
Right.
The only thing that sanctuary state does is eliminate that. Our sanctuary state law and sanctuary state policies doesn't keep you and I safe. It doesn't keep our immigrant community safe, even the ones that are here illegally. It does nothing to keep them safe. It only protects criminals who are victimizing us. And what it does and what it was meant for is, I'm not naming names. That's up to reporters to do their damn job and go figure out who they were. But the politicians that made this law so family members who were due to be released from prison wouldn't be deported. This is only meant to protect criminals from being deported. And the rest of us are now suffering for it. So currently, I'm suing the state. I'm part of a lawsuit with the city of Huntington Beach and myself. We're suing the state, the sanctuary policies, because we don't want to not be a sanctuary state. We want the ability for sheriffs who have jails and our wardens who have prisons to be able to cooperate with the federal government and deport these people that are victimizing us. Because I have to tell you, I'm all for my family, my grandparents, my great-grandparents came from Italy to this country. My wife's grandparents came to this country from Mexico. The majority of the people that we know came here from somewhere else. Immigration is a natural process in America, and it always has been. Politics right now is absolutely ruining it. And we have a broken immigration system that needs to be reformed, but we have failed politicians on both sides of the aisle that refuse to fix it because they can use it every 4 years during their election cycle.
It almost reminds me of the homeless problem where everybody's just, this is our thing we can get on and fight. But let me ask you this. See, when people hear that you're against sanctuary cities, they may get the wrong idea.
Yeah.
Because automatically people, right now it's sensitive. It's a sensitive subject. But how do you feel? Not sanctuary city policy, because you stated clearly that the reason you want to take it away is just so they can go after the criminals that are in jails, at the county jails and prisons. And I think a lot of people are for that. But how do you feel as a man, not as a sheriff, not as a candidate, as a man, as a father, grandfather, husband, seeing some of these gentlemen, older gentlemen, ladies getting picked up who are working, who are, they're productive members of society. They may have, committed the crime of coming here illegally, but they've been here 10, 20 years. And obviously they're not out here breaking the law because they would have got picked up already. How do you feel about that? And what do you say to our community as far as, how everybody now all of a sudden is seen as a felon criminal? Yeah,
I think it's a shame. I think it's an embarrassment to us as people, on a more personal level. My son-in-law's parents are not U.S. citizens.
Right.
I mean, do I want them deported? Absolutely not. I think that's stupid. You kind of alluded to it before. If you're going to come here to make a better life for themselves, that's why my family members came to this country. That's why my wife's family came to this country. If you're here to make a better life for yourself, that's one thing. But if making a better life for yourself means you're victimizing us, the ones that are living here trying to make a living, then you got to go back to where you came from. Right. You can't come here and break our laws and say that you're here to make a better life for themselves. So I have a zero tolerance for people who are here illegally that additionally commit crimes.
Right.
But the rest of it, there absolutely has to be some type of a way. And there are so many different nuances in this, because for sometimes, so this is a truthful thing. The immigration system is broken, but it's still possible. And I know for a fact that people who come here illegally and have kids who are now U.S. citizens, when those kids now have their parents there. Those parents have an easy way through the citizenship market to become citizens. And to be honest with you, many of them just choose not to. And I don't know if it's them choosing not to, or if them being afraid to go through the process, or not wanting to take the time to go through the process. But to say that someone's been here for 30 years and they have kids that are here that are grown adults now, and they're still not citizens, sometimes I want to say, shame on you. Why haven't you become a citizen? You obviously love our country. You've contributed to our country. Why didn't you want to become a citizen? But then at the same time, I know that there are probably things that went on in their lives that maybe they just thought that the system didn't work for them, or that it took so long, they thought it was useless. And so why even try? So I get it. There's so many different arguments that go into it. My belief as the governor of the largest state in the country and the largest immigrant community in the country that is in the state of California, there absolutely has to be something to provide some type of path for these people to become citizens. If they don't want to become citizens, then to be honest with you, if they get picked up by immigration, then too bad. If you want to become a citizen, if you're wanting to better this country and better yourself and better your family, there should be a way to do it. Regardless of what has happened in the past, we can't, two wrongs don't make it right.
That's right.
Regardless of what of the failures of our government, of what they have brought us to today, there has to be some adults that sit down and make the tough decisions to say how we're going to move forward. And these people that are on this side that are saying every single person needs to be deported, you're wrong. And the people that are on this side saying every single person belongs here and they should just be able to come in here, you're wrong too. Adults need to come together and make the decisions on how we're going to make this work. And I will work with the president, because he's still going to be there when I'm the governor. I will work with the largest state in the country and the largest immigrant population to make sure that for those law-abiding people that are here to make their families better, their family lives better, there will be paths to citizenship.
So would you, if you become governor, would you make a phone call and tell them, hey, like, this needs to stop? Because right now it's like, it's out of like of a movie. Nobody could see this, like the government pushing up on citizens out here. I know people that they've gone to and ran up on, are you a citizen? And what it is, I mean, on our side, it's complete racial profiling. I mean, there's nothing else you can see it. They just look at somebody, you look a certain way, and they're coming at you. Would you be willing to, call the Trump administration, say, hey guys, man, you guys are pushing too hard on our citizens. We'll take the sanctuary state out. We'll let you come into the counties. We'll let you come into the prisons, take them out. Would you make that phone call?
Absolutely. In a heartbeat. That will be done the day I win the election. It won't be when I get sworn in. It'll be the day I win the election, to make sure that on day one, all of that happens. You have an environment where the leader of California is supposed to be doing what's best for California. And we have the leader of California right now, our failed governor, who's doing what's best for Gavin Newsom.
Right.
And he's doing what he thinks he has to do to appease to a base for his presidential election. And he is more interested in fighting President Trump and fighting our federal government than coming to a solution that would better all of California.
Right.
And that is an absolute failed leader. That is proof that we don't elect leaders in this country. We elect personalities, and we elect fancy names, and we elect, who knows what process people go through to vote for the person they vote for. But we need to get back to a time where we elect character, and we elect ability, and we elect honesty, and we elect a person to that office that shares our values rather than a political party. Absolutely. Because the reality is we all agree on 80 to 90% of every single topic. And that 10% shouldn't make us enemies. It just makes us have a little disagreement.
Now we got a super chat. Fish Layer SoCal, appreciate that, my man. Ask him, if the CCW be quicker turnaround for those that can? Kerry be a quicker turnaround if he's a governor? What's his thoughts on the Second Amendment right to bear arms?
I will tell you this: since I became the sheriff of Riverside County, when I became the sheriff of Riverside County, there were 3,000 CCW permits in our county. Right now we are over 60,000. And the wait time when I took office was 2 years to get your concealed weapons permit, carry permit. And right now we will have your permit in less than 3 weeks.
Nice, nice. Well, where do you go, Fish Lair? Let me ask you this one. Do you support expanding the use of surveillance, such as facial recognition, license plate readers in California?
I do, and there's a lot of there's. I'll tell you what's happening right now is what we are seeing in. What we have to realize is how you are controlled. The easiest way to control anyone, and this goes way back, psychological warfare in military and everything else. Fear is what makes us go along with something. And so we're being lied to about facial recognition. We're being lied to about license plate readers because they want you to be afraid of the government. They want you to be afraid of being followed or whatever the case may be. Here is the reality of our government. Our current legislature is made up of people who do not want people to be held accountable for anything. They have a love affair with criminals. They want to close all the prisons. They want every single inmate in prison and jails released back into our communities, and they never want anyone arrested for any crime. That is an absolute fact of the supermajority of people that we have in Sacramento. So they are trying to, anything that has made law enforcement more capable of identifying suspects or arresting criminals, they're trying to take it away. Several instances I'll give you. A dozen years ago, they wanted us to get body-worn cameras to prove how corrupt we were, to prove that we were racist, to prove that we were violent, to prove that we were beating up all of these residents. So we all wanted the body-worn cameras. We just didn't want to buy them ourselves. So we finally all get them. And what they proved was cops weren't the problem. We were being truthful. There are actually bad people out there that were doing wrong things and then lying about it in these complaints. And now these videos, we're just taking the body-worn camera into court. There really isn't a reason for a court case because the cameras are proving everything of what happened. And so now they want body-worn cameras taken. The same people that demanded body-worn cameras on cops are now trying to get them removed from cops because they're saying they're violating people's rights.
I hadn't heard that. They want them away from you guys?
Yeah, because we're solving crime with them. And so license plate readers, I will tell you, there's a Flock is the company, and I have nothing to do with Flock other than I'm probably one of their biggest customers. The county of Riverside is one of their biggest customers. We have cameras all over the county. All these things do is take still pictures of license plates. That's it. And a vehicle. So we can't see who's driving. We can't see the occupants. It takes extra work after that to identify who is in the car. But what it does is identify stolen vehicles. What it does now with the Flock cameras, it's with artificial intelligence, it's a computer learning. It learns things. So for instance, criminals used to know that we had license plate readers, so they would take the license plate off, or they would put a fake license plate on and a cold plate a car. So these new license plate readers with Flock, they take the measurement of the taillights or the shape of the taillights, and then they know what type of car it is. So if someone tells me I didn't get a license plate, but I know it was a 2006 Honda Accord and it was red, I can find that Honda Accord 2006 based on the measurements of the taillights in these pictures because of the AI that's going through all of these pictures from the license plates. And it's no longer about stolen vehicles. It's about robberies. It's about murders. It's about kidnappings. We in Riverside County stopped there was a bombing of a building in Northern California, and they had just a vehicle description, no license plate, a vehicle description of the suspect leaving the place that they blew up. Right. And we caught them in Temecula on their way. They were going to cross the border and into safety, really. And we caught them in Temecula based on that Flock license plate hit. And so now what we're finding, they want those cameras taken away, and they're using fear. They're lying to people. Our legislators lie and say that we're doing something wrong with them, or we're, it's Big Brother and they're spying on you and they're following you and they're doing all these things. It's an absolute lie. We don't have time.
I would say this though, Sheriff. I would say maybe 2 months ago, I would 100% agree with you. But what's been going on out here in the streets of Los Angeles, it seems like, wait a minute, Big Brother's here, man. So it scares people in the immigration world, because they feel like after, let's say, local municipalities get it, the feds are going to get it, and the feds are going to sit there and look for license plates of anybody, especially in California. I think you can have a driver's license and be illegal. So, I mean, I believe some of the fear is warranted. Am I completely against it? No, but that's not something that will break a vote either way. But I just wanted to put that out there to you, for people who feel that way. I'm not the guy who will say, yeah, it's just Big Brother's fear-based. It's definitely a tool you guys can use, but like any tool, sometimes tools get...
Every good technology, someone uses it for bad. Yeah, I mean, you can't. I mean, look at our cell phones. Our cell phones are the greatest thing in the world, but look at all the crimes that are committed with cell phones. And I mean, it's horrible that adults have access to kids with a cell phone. I mean, there are bad things. There are bad people out there. But I will tell you this to quell your fears about that.
Right.
There are not enough government employees in the country to have the time to use something like this, like license plate readers, to find somebody. We barely have enough employees and resources to solve the crimes that are happening. There's nobody available to be doing all of these other things that they're saying might happen. And then I always come back to the what ifs. We can what if things to death.
Absolutely.
And if we what if things to death, we'll never accomplish anything. Why would we? I mean, why do we even let people drive cars? Because what if they drink too much and then someone's going to get killed? So let's just outlaw cars altogether. I mean, there's so many things to do the what ifs and the fear factor. I get it. I get why people are afraid, and I get why they would think that would happen. But I'm telling you, as the leader of my organization and the biggest user of these tools to identify criminals, we're not using it on the general public. If you commit a crime, you should be afraid of committing a crime in Riverside County, because we're going to find you. But if you are just a regular person minding your own business and you don't commit crimes, you're never going to have a contact with Riverside County law enforcement. And I don't care if you're illegal or if you're here legally. We don't have the time, we don't have the resources, and it's not our job anyway.
So we got another question from one of the subscribers. Can you pick it up a little bit, Chris, so I can see it? Let's see. Zach91, Gil, can you ask him if he'll have any say on the California Handgun roster in magazine capacity?
Yes, I will. That's so there's going to be a complete change in direction of actually working for Californians from our government. And I will have a direct say in the handgun roster. The handgun roster will go away. That is nothing but gun control. It's a silly thing. I'm telling you, I have the best gun that money can buy, and I wish every single person that was into guns would carry this gun, because it shoots better. It's easier. It's expensive, but it's illegal in California unless you're a law enforcement officer. And it's the silliest thing in the world. It's the most reliable gun there is. The roster is gun control, and me as your governor will do away with that roster.
There you go. Then we got another one. J-Lo, 99 at Super Chat. Hey, Chad, thanks for the balls to come on the platform. Jeremy Rowe, and I say, what's up? I don't know if you know who that is, or... Okay, well, there. I've got another one. This is one that recently came out, and I want your take on it. The Oathkeepers. The Oathkeepers is like I think anti-federal... I don't know if they're a militia thing, or maybe you can even kind of educate myself on what it is. I know you were part of a member for about 1 year, and then you just weren't there. So talk to me about the Oathkeeper situation.
Yeah, this is another one of those don't believe anything you read or see. This is all hype. This is all lie. This is all ridiculousness. So Oathkeepers, if you go back, I think they've taken their website down now. But if you go back and you find their about page, what they're about, their mission statement, the mission statement of Oathkeepers is almost word for word identical to the mission statement of the ACLU. The Oath Keepers was an organization made up of military people, former military people, current military people, and law enforcement officials or people,
Right.
that swore an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I swore that oath 3 times now, once to get my job in the first place, and then each time I've been sworn in as the sheriff, I've taken that oath. And I value that oath, and I will die defending the freedoms that our Constitution provides us. And back in 2014, I joined that organization. It was an online, I don't even remember how much I paid, like $49 or something like that. And it was all about people that value the Constitution, what the Constitution said, and protecting the oath and protecting the rights of American citizens. And fast forward to 2020, and 3 of the members that were involved somehow in January 6th, 3 of them were also Oath Keepers. They were member of the Oath Keepers. So they were either, I don't know if they were military, former military, or police, but they were Oath Keepers. So the left, every single Democrat, has now branded Oath Keepers as this anti-government organization. And it's an absolute lie. There is nothing bad about Oath Keepers. No more bad than if I said that one of my deputies arrested a doctor for child molestation. That means that every doctor is a child molester.
Right.
So just because 3 people who did their own bad thing were also associated with something else doesn't make that organization bad. And Oath Keepers was not and is not a bad organization. It's an organization that values the Constitution and what the Constitution represents. So the funny thing about that is, if you want to get me down my rabbit hole of a conspiracy theory, the government that was created by our Constitution is despised by the current far left Democrats. Our Attorney General of California, Rob Bonta, hates the Constitution. Our governor hates the Constitution. The Constitution stands in their way of socialism, which they are outwardly saying they are in favor of. The Democrat Party now calls it, many members of the Democrat Party call themselves Democrat Socialists of America or of California. So they're admitting they are socialists. That is in defiance of our form of government created by our Constitution. So for me, swearing an oath against all enemies, foreign and domestic, the foreign enemies are easy to find. The domestic ones are a little bit more complicated, because is it your own government? Is your own government being infiltrated by people who are trying to destroy your government and change your Constitution into a socialist form of government? So they are the ones that are branding Oath Keepers, people that value our freedoms guaranteed by our Constitution. They are labeling us as anti-government extremists, when that is the farthest thing from the truth. I am the most pro-constitutional form of a democratic republic government that we have in this country, and I will die defending our Constitution. So for the far left to label me as an extremist, or as somehow the Oath Keepers are bad, I wear that with a badge of honor, and I'm proud of it. And every time I raise my hand and swear in new deputies, it makes me proud that they are swearing that same oath, that they're going to defend our constitutional rights guaranteed by our constitutions.
Now we got another question. Ask Bianco if his campaign is receiving money from Soros. So I think after your response right now, I would say that's a no. But are you receiving big millions from George Soros?
George Soros is going to be funding people against me, because I represent everything that he despises, and I'm truly. This is the thing about me running for this position. I'm a Republican. I've been a Republican since I registered when I was 17 and a half years old. and I voted in my first election when I was 18, and I've been a registered Republican since then. I'm running as a Republican. I am not going to win this race for the Republican Party. I'm not going to win it for the Democrat Party. I'm not going to win it for the Independent Party or the Blue Party or the Green Party. I am running this race, and I am going to be the next governor for California. There is no one that has taken this office that has represented Californians and only Californians, and that's what I want to do.
We got another question. Ed Liner, what about having a path for nonviolent felons that have paid their dues and have changed their lives to be able to get their Second Amendment rights back? But that's more of a federal thing, no? It wouldn't be a state thing?
It's a state thing. I'm not against that. I have signed numerous documents for people to get their rights restored, to get their records expunged. I am in favor of you turning your life around. There's my personal belief. There is one perfect person in the world, in the history of the world. He's no longer with us, and it's certainly not any of us. And so,
amen.
Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody makes a decision, hopefully, at one point, hey, I need to change my life around and I need to do better for me and my family. And I did some crazy shit when I was a kid or when I was younger, but it's been 10 years, it's been 15 years, it's been 30 years. Yeah. I'm a good guy, a good girl. I'm productive. I'm a good person. I believe that you should be given all of your rights back, and you should be able to get your record expunged, and you should be able to have a gun.
For sure. Yeah, you need to be able to protect your home, man. That's every man's thing. Moises Carrera, ask him if he's going to come back once he's governor. Are you going to come and sit over here with us?
Yeah.
Sheriff Bianco?
Absolutely. I will tell you what, I've never said no to anything. It bothers my wife a ton. She's like, we don't have time to do anything. You got to tell these people no. And I don't believe it. I've been very blessed to be the sheriff of Riverside County. And when people ask me to do something, I do it because I feel like I owe them that. And for something like this, who better for you to have on your show than the governor to ask questions and get things solved. And I'm a firm believer that even in my organization, I hang out with deputies. I go talk to deputies to find out what the deputies need, because in that chain of command, the word gets lost by the time it gets to me. So as the governor of California, why would I surround myself with people in Sacramento and have them tell me how great things are? I need to go out into public and have them hit me with these hard questions and say, hey, what are you going to do to help us?
What is your take on, I believe the California is getting sued right now by the feds because Gavin Newsom refuses to enforce the federal mandate that there should be no boys and girls sports.
Yeah, that's another one of those common sense things. As a dad and as a coach, I can tell you that boys do not belong in girls sports. And certainly as an adult and as a dad, 17-year-old boys do not belong in 14-year-old girls' dressing rooms naked. And there's something seriously wrong with adults that are allowing this to happen.
Yes.
And we are at a position in Riverside County where I have made our education system aware that if you are facilitating the indecent exposure of a male to a young female in their locker room, and you have contributed to make that possible, I'm going to come arrest you.
Okay, there you go. So I got one final question for you, and before that, I want to thank you so much for coming on here, talking to our audience. California is a big chunk of Latinos, and we're trying to get more politicians here to ask these questions, and you came on board, so I appreciate you coming in. The last question to you is, what is your vision for the state of California in the next 5 to 10 years?
The biggest one in the next 8 years, by the time I leave as your governor, we will no longer have a state income tax. We will have the greatest economy. We will be the number 3 minimum, maybe even the number 2 economy in the world. And we will not be doing it on the backs of our workers. We will have no income tax in California. There will be no retirement tax for retirees. And we will have, once again, the perception and the appearance to the rest of the country of being the greatest state in the country, the state that everyone wants to move to.
Absolutely. So with that being said, Mr. Bianco, I appreciate you. Let the people know where your website is, how they can fund your run for governor, and any shout outs you may want to give out there.
Absolutely. You can find 30,000 foot level information about the campaign at biancoforgovernor.com. You can also sign up to help with the campaign if you want. There's numerous places on there that you can volunteer to help. And then also this campaign is going to be very expensive, especially what I'm up against with this massive institution that we're going to be fighting. So any money that you can spare, everything helps. Every little bit helps, whether it's $1 or whether you can, if you can max out, if you're a big corporation, big business, and you can give me the maximum 39,000, more power to you. But anything in there, we would be more than happy to accept, and just consider it an investment in California. I'm investing my time and my effort to make sure that we can make this the greatest state in the country again. And if you can spare a few dollars every month or one time, that shows that you're going to make that investment too. And we truly appreciate it. So biancoforgovernor.com.
Appreciate you. If you could stay in the right there behind the scenes right now, after we get off, we'll talk real quick. Appreciate you guys coming in here, having these conversations. Whether you agree or disagree, leave a comment respectfully below. Aside from that, you guys have a great one. God bless, man. And the stream. All right.